Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Songwriting Simplified with me, Jonny Lipsham. And we've also got over there Rich Cresswell with the nice red hat and funky looking headphones. But welcome, everybody. This is a special episode. Mostly because we have Rich here. That kind of makes it special. But also because we are launching our Halloween 2023 Songwriting Challenge, which Rich and I are going to kind of go into some details on so that you guys know what you are doing and what you need to take part in the challenge. And as I said, there is a prize up for grabs for this one. So it's a little bit more of an unusual challenge in that respect, because most of the challenges that I do here on the channel, there is no winner, there is no prize. It's more kind of like just something to participate in and, you know, that kind of thing. But this is a little bit different. We're actually going to give something away for this, which is going to be pretty cool. And Rich will go into some details about that in a wee bit. Brett says I pointed the wrong way. Well, according to OBS, I did not point the wrong way. And I'm looking at the screen, so when I point like this, it is definitely pointing at Rich on the screen. So I'm going to keep my finger there just for a second. Oh, I am pointing the wrong way. Bollocks. I should be pointing that way. You're right. You're right. It's reversed. I forgot it's reversed. There we go. He's over there. He's not over there. He's over there. There we go. Anyway, we got that sorted. Yeah, it's reversed. Is this the original song backwards? Asked Kyle. No, it's not. It's a little bit different. I will show you how I put that together, by the way, because I actually used pretty much tools inside Studio One to do this. I used actually two very simple tools in the note editor to make it happen. So I'm going to show you that as well, and we're going to talk. And we're going to talk about this contest as well. So let's quickly go and take a wee look and see who we've got here, because we've got like 11 people here, which is a little bit quiet. We normally have more people than this, but that's okay. Hopefully in the next few minutes people will come in and we'll start to fill up the place a wee bit. We tend to get round about, I think, about 15 or 16 people here who are dedicated hardcore people who are into songwriting and arranging, composing, and all that kind of fun stuff. All right, so we got Billy Morgan, who is first in the door, followed by Rich, who is also here on Skype. And we got Mike Johnson here. We got Ron Figura. We got Kyle, and we got Steve Wilson. We've got Brett Marler. We got Don Oliver, and that is it so far. Hopefully, a few more people will come in. But yeah, that is the new theme tune for Songwriting Simplified for a wee while. I don't know how long I'll keep it running for before I make something else, but I figured it was about time that we had like a different theme tune for one show versus the other, because at the moment they kind of have had the same theme tune, so I figured that it was a good idea for the two shows to be a little bit more distinct and separate. So that's what we've done. So I'll quickly take you through a guided tour of how I put that together, and then we'll get into the Halloween challenge. All right, so I'm going to jump over to Studio One, and I'll show you what I have. All right, so we've got a bunch of we've got a bunch of impacts, we've got some presents, and we've got some Mai Tai. Now, the way I put this together was I started off with actually some impact drum loops, which I used, I basically just randomly generated the rhythm, and then I used filling notes and then thinning out notes to make it happen. So we came up with something that's a little bit kind of chance-like, and I liked what we ended up with. So So it's all a little bit kind of random 16th notes, but it had quite a nice kind of off-kilter rhythm to it, so I quite liked it. So that's that. And then the next thing that I came up with was I came up with the melody, and I'm going to show you how I did that by actually going into it. So the first thing I did was I locked it. If I go into the first thing here, it says, that should say C Phrygian. Okay. Was I locked this to C Phrygian, although it says D Phrygian there. But we won't worry about that. And then when you lock it, you see that you've got this little scale thing here. And basically you can, when you've got it locked like this, you cannot enter notes that don't belong to that scale. So I basically entered some notes from this scale, and then having done that, I went to the action menu and I clicked on fill with notes. And then I set the range so that I had like maybe an octave and a bit's range, and I made sure that it would fill with 8th and 16th notes. And then once I'd done that, the next thing I did was I went back to this, and then I went to thin out notes. And because basically when you do fill with notes, it literally just fills with notes, and there are way too many notes. So I did thin out with notes, and then I left it with that. And so this is what we came up with for the first section here. Okay, so it sounds all a little bit kind of off kilter, and that was the idea. The idea was that I wanted rhythms that were asymmetrical and were away from the beat. So basically, at no point would the downbeat be played, the beat one of each measure played by the melody instruments. So we've got this Mai-Tai synth, and then that is doubled with a tenor sax and a trumpet. Okay. And then the next thing we did with that was I then did something very, very similar with the piano. But this time I kept the scale locked. And then this time I used some key modifiers so that I could actually draw some stacks of notes to make some chords. Basically just using the notes from the C Phrygian scale for this first section, and then the second section, everything shifts up one to D Phrygian. But I wanted to use the Phrygian scale because the Phrygian scale sounds just a little bit weird. It's one of those scales that, I mean, if I start the Phrygian scale on E, it has a flat 2 in it. So it has a flat 2, has a natural 6, and it also has a flat 7. So we're based on that scale, except we're starting it on C, and then the second section starts it on D. So if I take off everything else and just leave just the piano, this is what we get. And again, I wanted to not have the piano on beat 1 on any measure. Okay, so you can see here from the keyboard here, you can see all the notes that are lit up in blue with the little blue marker at the end. Those are the notes that are part of the scale. So you can see there's an E flat there, and there's a B flat there. So yeah, so you've got like all of those notes available to you in the scale. So yeah, so this is actually set to D Phrygian right now. If I change it to C Phrygian, it'll give you different notes. But yeah, that's how I came up with the keyboard part. just drew in stacks, basically just using the notes from the scale. And this is, I'm doing all of this and I'm showing you all of this because this is one of the ways in which you can approach the Halloween challenge, where especially when you're creating chords, you can literally just take the notes from the scale to make the chords. They don't have to be triads. They don't have to be discernibly major or discernibly minor chords. You can just take notes from the scale and stack them either close like I've done there, or you can spread them out and have wide open voicings. There's different ways in which you can do it. But that's just the way that I chose to do it for this. And then, of course, we've got the bass, which is this track, I think. And for the bass, I did pretty much exactly the same thing. I did the fill with notes and then thing with notes. But once I'd entered the notes in first, using the notes of the scale, and I got something that I thought was quite good, and then I filled it with a few extra notes, got Studio One to add in some notes, and then I took away some notes with the thinning out. And again, avoiding the downbeat. There are no notes here that start on beat 1. So if I bring in everything apart from the drums, so if I do that, and then if I do that, you'll notice how everything sounds very much off kilter. Doesn't start on the beat, so it's quite hard to find where the downbeat is. All right. So the only thing that was kind of different was the drums. The drums are really straight ahead. All right, so if we put those all together, so this second section, everything gets shifted up from the C Phrygian up to D Phrygian, and then I went for like more 3-part kind of harmony between the synth, the trumpet, and the tenor sax. Again, keeping that kind of off-kilter, away from beat 1 kind of feel, to contrast against the straight-ahead drums. And also the fact that you've got 3-part harmony versus octaves kind of provides a bit of contrast as well. But yeah, so that's how I put this new theme tune together. So it just goes to prove that you can actually do something very cool inside of Studio One and use some of the different modes and scales that are preset inside the note editor to create something that sounds just a little bit different, a little bit unique. And you know, you just approach, you're therefore approaching music from a scale point of view rather than having to think about, okay, major chords, minor chords, 1-6-2-5-1, 3-6-2-5-1, 1-4-5-1, and all of those kind of standard chord progressions that you hear about in standard popular music and, you know, country music and folk music and all of that. So I wanted to give you guys just a different approach, a different option for making music where you can actually use the fill with notes and the thin out notes macros that are available in the action menu that will just kind of help give your music that little bit of kind of chance element where, you know, what you get is what you get. And so there is a sense where you're not actually doing the composing work. Studio One kind of is a little bit, but they are tools to help you basically figure out how to kind of make those kind of off-kilter melodies for yourself. And it's actually not that hard to do, especially when you lock the note editor into a particular scale. Then it is just a question of trying things out, just clicking notes in and seeing how they sound, how they fit together, and shaping a melody that way. So you're not really having to think particularly technically. And yet you can still end up with something very, very cool. I mean, that melody is totally bonkers. It's not the melody I necessarily would just sit down and work out, but what I ended up with was something I actually liked. And I didn't really have to tweak it that much. I had to tweak it a little bit because some of the phrase endings didn't make sense. But other than that, I didn't really tweak it at all. I just left it the way Studio One presented it to me. And so there are lots of powerful tools like that within different DAWs, but particularly within Studio One, where you can compose with Studio One and have Studio One kind of provide you with some improvisatory ideas, which can spark off something. And then, of course, there are note effects like chorder, like arpeggiator, where you can take a scale and you can get the modal scale, and you can get it to create chords and that kind of thing, and get it, using the chorder or the arpeggiator to create different patterns that way. And all of that I have just said in that sentence hopefully segues quite nicely into our Halloween challenge, which Rich is going to kind of talk about a wee bit here, because he has set something up very, very cool. I'm actually going to go over to the song whilst you're introing the idea, so that people can see what we have. Over to you, Rich.
Right. Okay. So, so obviously the idea was to take one of these challenges, but maybe give people a bit of a reward for participating. I think that's always a good idea, that some way you get something out of it, or there's a chance to. And I came up with the idea of doing a bit of a challenge for you folks using a scale, maybe one that you might not have heard or used before, but is actually not overly complex, but it sounds it. And we're talking about B. Locrian natural 6 scale, which is basically all of your white keys on your keyboard. And the only thing that we change is that instead of playing a G, we play a G sharp instead. So I've created a song that is in the pin links for Jonny's show, and you can download this zip and simply drag it into Studio One. And as soon as you open it up, you're going to see the rules and all the tips and all the hints and things that you need to get going. But the idea essentially is that you'll have some chords that you can use ready, sort of in the arranger. You can put these in any order that you want, make your own arrangements, create your own song. And I think you don't need to use all the chords. You can use, 2, 3, 4, whatever you feel fits your song idea. And play a melody, maybe even a bass line if that's something that you want to do, within that scale. So what we're talking about here is we're talking about, on the keyboard, B, C, D, E, F, and then G sharp, and then finishing on A. So that's the sequence within the scale. And you'll also find, if Jonny can show the chorder, you'll see that there are those chords built in to the track itself. So you can actually take that chorder and drag it to another instrument if you want to. And that will have the triads, the sevenths, and the ninths. So it's giving you lots of different, options for creating color.
Yep, I'm showing that on screen now. So,
yep.
So we've got the chorder, and then when you switch it on, you can literally play the notes from the scale here. Notice the G won't sound because Rich is a super smart guy and has made sure you cannot play this note. So you're playing all the white notes apart from G, and you play the G sharp instead. So. And that was kind of like a drunk version of the intro to the Cantina Band from Star Wars.
And even though we're all using mostly the wide notes and just that one sharp, it sounds weird. It sounds dark already.
It really does. Yep.
It's really just I suppose you could take the chords that are in the arranger, chop them up and put them in the order that you want.
Yep.
Or you could use the chorder and sort of have a play around with, the chords that you like in the order that you like, and then, and apply that to whatever instrument that you want to as well.
Yeah, one of the things I discovered actually, I mean, you can play it as like a single key thing, which is what I'm doing here. I'm just playing one key at a time on the keyboard. But it also sounds interesting if you play more than one key at a time. Like this.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to be the one key guy, then now's the time. It's Halloween competition, right? So
yes, yep, definitely. So you can use like one key at a time, or you can stack these chords that Rich has built into this chorder by superimposing another chord on the top of it.
Yeah, and just as an extra. I wouldn't call it a bonus, but just as a little tip for you guys, within the zip file, obviously you'll drag that straight onto Studio One. It'll automatically open it, which is awesome, of course.
Yep.
But within that zip file folder, you'll find the Scalar preset file. So if you want to put that in a place that is useful to you, then you can keep those forever. I think when it comes to how we'll do the prizes on this one, the idea basically is to give whomever is the victor a little bit of choice. So we don't want to sort of say, hey, well, here's an interface. That's it. That's your prize. Love it or lump it.
Yep.
It's going to be a case of you might want an interface, but you might want some headphones, or you might want a microphone, or you might just want some cables. So we will give the person that wins a bit of an option.
Yes.
I don't think you can get any fairer than that.
Certainly not. I mean, I think that's actually extremely cool and extremely generous. So, essentially, Rich is very, very kindly, very generously sponsoring this challenge, which is exceedingly awesome of him. And I'm very, very excited to be partnering with you once again, Rich, because it was a terrific success the last time we did. So this is just great. So for those of you that have kind of missed it, because I think a couple of people kind of came in a little bit late, I will quickly go back to the song, and I will show you the song information, which gives you kind of all the guidelines you need. So basically, if you go and get that, if you go and grab the link that Rich has posted, it is, by the way, pinned to the top of the chat. All right, so if you're not sure where to find it, you'll find it if you go and click on the pinned post. You'll see that there is a link there to it. And I believe you can just drag and drop that onto the start page once you downloaded it, Rich. Is that correct?
Yeah, or even if you've got an existing open project that you don't really want to close just yet, if you just want to take a peek at it, just drag it onto the window and it will open up a new song for you.
There we go. So this is in the song information. So if you go and grab this song and open this up in Studio One on your computer, you'll see all the rules here. and you'll see how you can form the scale. So you make sure you're using the right notes. And then there are some rules. So it has to be 90 seconds long. That's the minimum or more, but no more than 5 minutes. Use some or all of the chords available in which way you see fit. All right, so that's the chords that Rich has created for this, based on triads, dominant chords, and ninth chords using the notes from this scale. So essentially what we're all writing, folks, without really trying, is a modal piece of music. And the idea for this is, because it's Halloween, we want to make this dark and scary. Now the cool thing is, it already sounds dark and scary. If I just play for you the chords that Rich has provided, you'll see exactly what I mean. Oh, hang on a minute. I think I know what's going wrong here. I've got the chord switched on.
The chord is active, yeah.
Yep. There we go. Here's the dominant ones. Ninths. Now, all of those, as you can see, are in root position. Now, you can obviously do different inversions like you would ordinarily, just to kind of make them a little bit less kind of hopping around. Root position is great, gives you a good basis for working out what the notes are in each one of these chords, but you can revoice. You can move the top note down an octave, you can move the bottom note up an octave to create first inversion, second inversion chords. You can do whatever you want voicing wise to any of these chords, and they will work. Basically, any note from the scale played together as a chord is gonna work, and it will follow the rules. So let's go back to the rules again.
And if it helps, just as a little extra tip when it comes to doing those inversions, as a quick sort of keyboard shortcut, if you've got the top note selected and you want to move that down an octave, just hold the shift key down and press the down arrow, and that will bring it down an octave for you.
There we go. Even better. So there's a bunch of options there for you folks, that should help you. So any combination of these notes could be used for a melody and a bass part as well. And then you've got the chords. And then we've got a link here to the show. So if you want to go back and rewatch this show and kind of go over it again, go over anything that we show you in this again, then you can do. But you've got all the information that you could possibly want in this song information graphic here, and this is in the song information in Studio One. So to access that, you go to the song menu, song information, and all of this will pop up. So if you're not sure where the notes are in the scale, you can refer back to this really, really easily.
Yeah, and rewatching the video as well obviously might be helpful, just to kind of get to grips with things, but we won't be held liable for any damage caused as a result of making this song.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah,
it's pretty dark scale.
It is pretty dark, yeah. So it's I mean, Locrian on its own is dark enough, but when you have that natural six, it kind of adds that extra layer of death by chocolate.
Yeah.
So Ron wants to see these in notation view. We can do that. So there they are in the standard note view. And again, you can lock this. Well, actually, this mode is not available. Locrian Natural 6 is not available in Studio One as a mode. So you couldn't use the scale lock mode for this, unfortunately, because it doesn't exist. But if you want to see this in notation form, there you go. And I can zoom that along. And so you can see all the notes there. It's calling it an A flat here rather than a G sharp, but G sharp, A flat are in harmonically the same thing. Although technically, seeing as we're dealing with B locking, it should be a G sharp. But we will forgive on this occasion. I don't think it matters too terribly much. But there you go. So you've got the triads here, and then you've got the dominant chords here, and then you got the ninth chords here. And you could probably extend and add in 11th and 13th if you really want to. For some extra spice. If you like your music not just dark but spicy as well, you can definitely add in other extensions. And you can go, these are kind of in standard thirds voicings, but if you really want, you could stack these in fourths instead to create something that's a little bit more ambiguous and a bit more open.
Yeah, I think the important thing here is that as long as you're using predominantly, the let's say 3 or 4 of those chords throughout the song as a bare sort of minimum, if you want to treat that as your minimum, and you want to do like a passing note that's like an F sharp or something, you can do that. It's a scale, but you can break the rules, and we're not the Gestapo, so we want you to have fun with it. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So even if you decide that there are only 2 chords that you really, really like the sound of from amongst this, and you decide that you want to create a minimalist piece of music just using these 2 chords, and you do a vamp between the 2 chords, that's totally cool. And that's totally within the rules, because you're using the notes of the chords, of the scale to make the melody, the chords, and the bass note and bass line. So you're still within the rules of this contest.
Yeah, there's a brief, but it's your music at the end of the day.
Pretty much. How you decide to interpret the brief is kind of up to you. So long as you are actually fulfilling all the stuff there that's in the brief, in the song information here. This is your brief. So long as you are following this brief and using the stuff that's in here, then you are within the rules, and it's all good.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is, as best you can, stay within the scale.
Yep.
90 seconds as a minimum.
Yep.
And try to keep it under 5 minutes, because obviously depending on how many submissions we may be there some time reviewing them, and I think. What do you think, Jonny? Do you think we should be reviewing these on air, or doing a check on them beforehand, or what do you want to
do? So I think the submission date, the submission deadline will be October 27th, and then the nearest, I think that's a Sunday Night Live show. The nearest Sunday Night Live show is going to be October 29th. So that is like 2 days before Halloween, which is the 31st. But Halloween falls on the Tuesday, so it's like the day before we would normally do this, show. So I was thinking if we basically hijack Sunday Night Live to basically do the contest finale. And so if you've submitted all your stuff by the 27th, then that gives me and Rich kind of the Friday and the Saturday to listen through them, and then on Sunday we will play what we think are the best ones. So maybe like the top 10, if we get that many. If we get fewer than 10, then I guess the top 5 we will play, and then from amongst all the submissions, not just the ones we play, but from all the submissions, we'll choose a winner.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, because I might judge it slightly differently than you, but I'll be looking for just a general kind of creativity. Did you do something that made me go, I never thought of doing that? Like you used some weird sound effects or something, and you because the chords are there, right? So that's where you're at with it. But I'd like to see people sort of do something a bit weird, maybe melodically weird, or
Yeah.
maybe do like a melody with a bass guitar or something, or add your own lyrics or something quirky.
Yeah. Basically, you want, I think really, we're looking for definitely imaginative creativity, thinking outside the box, and trying to scare the shit out of both of us. If you can achieve that, if you can achieve me and Rich going, wow, that is scary, then you're in the ballpark for being a potential winner, I think. So definitely creativity and going for something that is unique. So maybe you might want to try using multi-instruments to create a unique sound. So kind of a little bit sound designy. Multi-instruments are incredibly powerful. And of course, the great thing about multi-instruments is you can also stack the note effects. You can have an arpeggiator and a chorder if you want, or a chorder and a repeater to create some really interesting patterns and sounds. And then you can layer like a Mai Tai patch, a Mojito patch, and a present sound. You could just stack those all together and create something really unique. For a melody part, or for chords, or maybe harmonics on the bass for a melody. And the sky is the limit, to use a cliche, and I don't really use cliches. My wife does, but I don't.
If you're a little bit stuck as to what kind of sounds to use, or maybe you think to yourself, well, I'd really love like some chain sounds and some screaming or whatever it happens to be. There are great resources out there. Freesound.org is a great place that you can get these kind of sound effects, if you're not able to produce them at home. And then with the actual song itself, it doesn't need to be like a traditional piece of music. It could be avant-garde. That would actually make it probably a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to do like scary spoken word lyrics over the top, then you can certainly do that in your best kind of Richard Burton voice, from when he narrated War of the Worlds. You remember that?
Jesus, yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean that is some serious spoken word. So yeah, if you want to kind of do those kind of things, it doesn't have to have lyrics. It doesn't have to have a vocal. Although we're calling it songwriting, it can be an instrumental with a whole bunch of weird sounds to go with it as well. So yeah, so that's essentially it. Scare the crap out of both me and Rich with something that is very, very creative and fun and really interesting for us to listen to. Just go nuts with sound design. The only rules really that there are is use the notes of the scale. And
exactly, and it's open to anybody in the world, apart from like the North Pole and the South Pole, but everywhere in between is good.
Yeah, we're not flat earthers, so yeah, anywhere in the world, other than where Santa Claus lives, and the Arctic base down in Antarctica, because I doubt we'd be able to send anything down there.
Yeah. Oh, there's something to mention as well, because it's something that myself and Ron have spoken about whilst thinking about the chords as well.
Yep.
Is that he's finding that it wanted to resolve to A minor. Don't always with this sort of thing feel that it needs to resolve.
Yeah.
Because it can be quite unnerving for it to feel like it's supposed to have finished, but it hasn't.
Yep. The skill with that is, having some unresolved tensions and some unresolved dissonances, and yet the piece sounds complete.
Yeah. Bops Dave, he's said, sadly we only have 12 notes. You have all of the notes.
Yeah, you can use the entire 12 chromatic tones. However, the reason why we've said go for this scale is because this is kind of the foundation. If you want to use chromatic tones as passing notes, go for it. You don't necessarily need to be strict about your application to just the notes of the mode. Although if you want to do that, that's great too, because it will work.
Yeah.
But by all means, use some chromatic passing tones as well.
And I think, ultimately, with it being songwriting simplified, it's kind of like a homework essay, but with a prize.
Oh, if only they did that at school, if only we got like a reward for like the most outstanding essay at school, I would have actually maybe done better. But
yeah, and it's basically, I suppose, in a way, introducing people to maybe names and ideas of scales that sound like they would be really complicated, and
yep.
not really for like the average folk, maybe for pro orchestrators, pro level chords.
Thank you, Unison.
They're actually, going back to what we said before about the notes that are being used in the scale, you're just using one black key, everything else is white keys.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, exactly, pretty much. So anyone else got any other questions about this challenge? Because we've got like 15 minutes left, and there is something else I do want to briefly talk about before we end the show. I'm having a look to see if I can see anything.
I'm looking for questions myself. I'm not seeing a lot.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing a lot either.
But if people have got questions, either in relation to the scale or the competition, or we didn't talk about where to send.
Oh, good point.
Finish.
Yes, we didn't. We need to have a place where people can actually submit to. And I personally have not really thought about that, I have to admit. So yes. Let me think about this.
I'm happy, if you're happy with this, that when people are finished with their work, they can either upload them to SoundCloud, which obviously most people will be able to do here if they're subscribed to SoundCloud. Obviously, it's free as well. But if people want to upload to YouTube, or another music streaming service, and then when we take a look at these, people can post their links in the comments, and then we can pull them from there.
Small problem with that is that only people with the purple or blue wrench can actually post links. So you're probably going to have to email the links to your songs. So here's how I think it should work. So if you go to my website down at the bottom there, and you hit the Contact Us menu item at the top, fill out your form, and copy paste your link to your work there, and put the subject Halloween Challenge 2023, and just put your link in the email, and then I'll collate all of those links and I'll make copies of them and send them to Rich as well, and then we've both got them. And you just need to make sure that you get them to us by the 27th of October, and then that gives us like at least 48 hours to go through them.
Yeah, and that cut-off date happens to be my birthday, so please don't let me down.
There you go. Yeah, mine's on October 9th, so but I tend to celebrate my birthday like for the entire month, so because I have family overseas. So Bobby says, what instruments are you not allowed to use? Bagpipes. Mostly because bagpipes won't work with B Lockery Natural 6 because they're not designed to. So yeah, bagpipes would not be necessarily an option. It would just sound weird. And Brett says, in the chat we can't post links. Correct. So because you cannot do that, email the links to me. Okay, go to the website, jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk, hit the Contact Us menu item, fill out the form there, and paste your link to your song there. Okay? And I will collate all of the links together, and I'll send them to Rich as well. And between the two of us, we'll listen to all of the works, and then we will pick our top 5 or top 10, depending upon how many submissions we get, and those will get played on the 29th. But we will pick a winner from all of the entries, however many entries we get.
I'd love to see at least 20 entries if possible. I mean, there's 17 watching at the moment. Well, there'll be a few stragglers that maybe watch a little bit,
Yeah. I would love to see 20 entries as well. And then from then, we can pick like the top 5 out of the 20, or the top 10 out of the 20. And we can play those so that everybody gets to hear them. And then from among all entries, we will choose the winner.
I think another thing to mention as well, in terms of, because obviously people will get a little bit apprehensive sometimes. Is my work going to be good enough? Will they like it? Oh, I don't think it will be as good as everybody else's. Screw that.
Yeah, totally.
It's technically not going to matter an awful lot.
No.
We're not talking about, I hate the term, but radio ready songs. It's not that.
No.
It's just an exercise to, kind of have fun. With a different scale that you've not used before. And totally. The overall, let's say, sonic quality is not the be-all and end-all here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to mix this. Just make sure that it has a decent output volume at the end of it. That's all. Stick a limiter on the post of the master fader, and make sure it's peaking at about -1 dB. That's all you need to do. Because don't bother about mixing it.
I don't know how you feel about this, but from my perspective, if you are sonically perfect and all of the meters are in the right, we're not even going to be looking at that stuff.
No,
it's not going to play any part in winning.
No,
the creativity aspect of it is what's going to get you to win.
Yeah, and 100%. So, yeah, you don't have to worry about mixing or anything like that. Bobby Booth says, I don't produce music, but if nothing comes up, I'll try it. You know what? There's no harm in giving it a go, Bobby. Even if, it's not something you do, just have fun. Have fun.
You'd be surprised how fun it is to kind of like muck around with the chorder. And like Jonny was saying, like use the arpeggiator as well. So, like on the arranger, you'll see, if you just press F4 on your keyboard, you'll see the note effects, and you can just select an arpeggiator as well. And that will play the arpeggiation within the scale because the chord is there first.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, you could pretty much like write a whole piece of music and never touch a keyboard.
Absolutely. Brett makes a good point here. He says, just don't use the lowest resolution MP3. Definitely.
Yeah.
If you're going to upload it to SoundCloud or YouTube or whatever, and you're doing it as an MP3, make sure that it is MP3 at 320 kilobits per second.
Yeah, unless you're going for that like early 90s aesthetic.
Yeah, if you want it to sound like it's been bit crushed, or it's in 8-bit, then do what you want. But otherwise, vocoder could be a fun tool for this application. Definitely. I think you could have a lot of fun with designing something really bespoke and funky with the vocoder in the settings in the vocoder. You could create something really, really weird and wacky. And yet, make some, dark kind of poetry that you can kind of read or sing over the top of it with the vocoder. That would be very cool. Definitely. See, you guys are already coming up with really, really wickedly creative ideas. So I have incredibly high confidence that this is going to be tough for us to judge, mate.
I hope so. I'd like to see those that don't feel confident with it, just throw some spaghetti against the wall
Definitely.
and give it a go. Because, you don't gain confidence in writing music or any kind of venture without giving it a go.
Yep. 100%. Absolutely. Even if songwriting's not your bag and you've never done it before, then, you know what good music sounds like. So just use your ears to help you judge what's going to work and what's not going to work.
Yeah.
And then, go for it, just send it to us. And,
You could do something that's like just to help Bobby out there just a little bit, and anybody else that might be struggling with how do I build the chord progression and melody and stuff. It, just do something that's sort of atmospheric and have really long droning chords, and like you'll be done like before you know it. And then maybe think about just layering different sounds and moving the faders up and down so you get like different things happening.
Oh, yeah, you could totally go to town with the automation and things like that, and volume and envelope riding to get some really creative sounds, definitely. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing stopping you from using Sample One XT, for example, if you have that available with your version of Studio One.
Yeah.
And you could, record some of your own sounds. You could, creaking doors and
bring in the Foley challenge a little bit into it.
Yeah. Maybe even, creaking bones, depending on your situation.
Yeah.
But there's lots of things that you could do to kind of spice it up a little bit, and that makes it a little bit more creative,
Definitely. John Hawk says, Hale came in at the end. Yeah, John, this is one of the songwriting shows where I definitely 1,000% recommend you watch the replay. So wind yourself back to the beginning and watch all the way from the beginning, because we are talking about the 2023 Halloween Songwriting Challenge, and there is a prize up for grabs for this. So definitely watch the replay and watch carefully and make sure you don't miss a thing. Because if you want to get involved, it's going to be loads and loads of fun. I am going to definitely get involved as well. I'm going to be doing a piece. Obviously, I'm not going to win because I can't, because that would be wrong of me to do that. But I'm definitely going to take part as well, because I like to take part in my own challenges. You remember quite a few years ago, we did a December 10th songwriting challenge where I just picked a date and said, right, folks, release a song on this date. And I did release a song on that date called Faces and Places. It's a terrible song, but I did release it, and I did put it up on SoundCloud. It is there. Anybody can go to my SoundCloud and listen to it and see how fecking awful it is. But, I was true to my word, and I went and did it. So, go ahead and get involved.
I've got this strange feeling that Dave, that'll be Bop's New York in the chat. I think his submission's going to be pretty dark looking at the comments.
Yes. Well, that would make an interesting snare sound, I think. All right, so we got about 3 minutes left. And so one thing I did want to make mention of is that today we launched a new second generation line of the Eris speakers. So if you want to check those out, then there is a video up on the Presonus YouTube channel, and you can go to presonus.com and you'll see all the new products that are in the Eris speakers line. Go check those out. They are awesome, fantastic new speakers, and they sound great. They really genuinely sound really, really great. I'm not like trying to upsell them because I work for the company, but I genuinely think these sound fantastic. I have the first generation Eris E5 speakers, and I have heard the new ones, the new Eris Studio 5s. my God, they are freaking awesome. And we sent some to Warren Hewitt. If you don't know who Warren is, he runs the Produce Like a Pro website and YouTube channel, but he is also a multiple platinum and gold record producer and mix engineer. And he has won multiple Grammy Awards, and he's worked with people like Aerosmith and The Fray and all sorts of awesome bands like that over the years. And he really, really digs them. So if you want to see kind of like a third-party independent review, go on his channel, Produce Like a Pro YouTube channel, and check out his video that he did, because it's actually really, really good. I think he got the 8s. I think he got the Studio 8s, is what we sent him. And he really, really likes it.
I think the 8-inch speakers are pretty much, I think, what most people would gravitate towards with a larger room.
Definitely, if you've got like something bigger than like 12 feet in length, going that way. If your room is bigger than 12 feet in length, then definitely 8 inches speakers is going to be good for a room that size, for sure. It's 11.5 feet to the back wall there. Which is like 6 inches shorter than my other room. But that other room was like 10 feet wide as well, whereas this is like only about 9.5 feet wide. So it's a little bit, smaller than it was. But the Eris E5s, the first gens, sound really great in a room that size as well. I was concerned because when I got these, they were for my little box room that I was in, 5-6 years ago now. And they sounded really big in that room. And then they sounded perfect in the 12 by 10 room. And now they sound pretty darn good in here too. I wouldn't want to go bigger in the room this size. And I certainly don't think I want to go down to the 4.5 either. Because I think for most 4.5-inch speakers, you lose quite a bit of low end. But that said, the new 4.5 ones, they actually sound really, really good at the low end. They are surprisingly clear at the low end. So yeah, definitely go check those out. Six Squirrel says, believe in yourself, you can win, don't disqualify yourself due to arbitrary principles. Would a great prime minister or a member of parliament follow rules on leverage? I like to play fair, and so I'm going to play fair. Oh, Rich, yeah. That's just too funny. All right, so I think we'll call it there, folks. We got some great comments, and it sounds to me like you guys all have a bunch of really, really great creative ideas bubbling away already. So we can't wait to hear these. It's going to be great. So make sure you submit by October 27th. So you've got just about 6 weeks-ish, I think. More or less 6 weeks.
Yeah, and if say, for example, you find yourself in a position where you don't have access to the song because the link's expired or something like that, let me know.
Yeah.
Or you can usually find me on one of the Zooms, either Mike or Billy Zooms or one of the Studio One meetups, and I'll send it to you.
Yeah. Definitely. If you're having any problems whatsoever with downloading any of the stuff, any of the resources for this challenge, either let me or Rich know and we'll get you equipped with whatever you need. And if you've got any more questions, again, drop us an email, reach out to us on Facebook. We'd be more than happy to help get you guys going with this challenge. Mike has posted the after show party. I'm going to go for a wee bit, I think, Rich. If you're going to go, I'm definitely going to go.
Yeah, you can do that.
All right, so thank you very much, everybody, for watching and for being here and for being so enthusiastic and encouraging about this little idea of ours. Thank you very much, Rich, for joining me. I really appreciate your time a lot. And thank you for partnering with me on this challenge. It's really cool to partner with you again. So Lots of success to everybody, and we'll see you all on Sunday for Sunday Night Live. I'll see you then, folks. Good night.
We're off there then, yeah. Come on, the time today. I'll hang up the Skype, all right, dude. Cool. I'll catch you soon.
Good night, folks. See you over at the after show party.